The New York area is no stranger to snowstorms. It doesn't typically take much of the fluffy white stuff to derail airport operations throughout the Northeast, but airports normally handle snow well, and service recovery is generally pretty uneventful. So as last week's bomb cyclone wrapped up and airlines began to resume service to John F. Kennedy Airport, what happened was unprecedented in modern airport operations. The winter storm was more fierce than expected in parts of the region, catching almost all airlines off guard. The wind, more so than the snow, created a situation where the port authorities' experienced snow teams simply couldn't keep up with the snow blowing off of Jamaica Bay, which is not an uncommon problem at JFK. To help prevent long delays, the airport was officially closed on Thursday, with an early afternoon reopening time. The reopening time was set for well before the bulk of international flights arrive at JFK, so airlines from around the world launched their full daily flight schedule with virtually no cancellations, assuming the airport would reopen on time. They were wrong, and it was a decision that set off a chain reaction of events that would linger for days. As the storm worsened and eventually became a full-blown blizzard, the reopening time was pushed back to 8 p.m., then eventually the airport threw in the towel and reset the opening for 7 a.m. on Friday. But at that point, dozens of aircraft were already well on their way to New York. All the pilots knew was that they would have to land somewhere, but that somewhere was not going to be JFK. Choosing a diversion destination is not as simple as landing at the nearest airport. Most airlines will look to divert to one of their own hubs if possible. For instance, Delta flights diverted to Detroit, DTW, Minneapolis, MSP, Cincinnati, CVG, and even as far south as Atlanta. International airlines will attempt to divert to airports where they have existing operations, which ensures that ground handling contracts are in place upon arrival. The list of airports used is long, but Chicago O'Hare, ORD, Washington Dulles, IAD, and Baltimore Washington, BWI, took the most diversions. Rather than diverting somewhere in the United States or even Canada, some airlines played it safe and diverted back to their origins. Several flights over the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and already more than halfway to JFK simply turned around and went back to Europe. That may sound like an outlandish idea, but it proved to be the best possible outcome for their passengers. Flash forward about a day, when airline crews that had exceeded their legal duty hours on the incoming diverted flights were once again ready to fly. In what almost seemed like an organized airlift, dozens of diverted aircraft all tried to shuttle back to JFK at the same time in order to reset their operations. This turned out to be an epic mistake. JFK is a bit of an oddity in terms of terminal operations. The 6 passenger terminals all operate independently, with absolutely no cooperation of any sort. Essentially, each terminal at JFK is its own little fiefdom with separate operations, management, and employees.